What is your message to the fans in Seattle? Are they going to lose the Sonics?
We're on a countdown, hoping for a miracle, but I don't know what's going to be.
I don't know why anyone would expect, in the absence of what they've been saying all along, which is funding for a new building of some kind and a plan for it, that they would be staying. I accept that.
With that sobering assessment, NBA Commissioner David Stern put the future of the Sonics in Seattle in the most precarious of lights. How did we get here? Back in 2006, Starbucks founder Howard Schultz could not reach a deal with the state of Washington to replace or renovate Key Arena, put the team up for sale, and did not find a local buyer. He would sell the team to an ownership group from Oklahoma led by Clay Bennett, who appealed to Seattle voters for a $500 million arena, much of it with public financing. But with the public already footing the bill for new baseball and football stadiums, he found little support. He then petitioned the NBA to move the Sonics to Oklahoma City. Now 4 decades of basketball tradition is in jeopardy, and as Jim Huber tells us, it's left the fan base stunned and saddened, but at the same time, in one case, inspired in profound ways.
It's as though someone has cut the heart out of a 41-year-old body, perfectly healthy, but in need of some rejuvenation. They are threatening to take their Sonics away, move them thousands of miles to the nation's midsection, and a stalwart, emotional group of fans aren't taking it lying down.
Save our Sonics! Save our Sonics!
Save our Sonics, indeed, and quickly.
We believed that they would not allow this to happen to their fans, and we gave them the benefit of the doubt and went through the process.
You believed in good faith?
We believed in good faith. We believed we were customers.
So you believe in the minority owner when he says, you know, we bought this team to move it?
I sure do now, and I'm glad he said it.
Yeah, he was honest.
But how does that make you feel?
Yeah, you know, we're disappointed because we really hoped that they had been sincere. But by the same token, it just proved that all along when you form a corporation in Oklahoma City, it's not like you're going to try to keep it in Seattle. We want to have fun tonight. Everything's positive tonight. No negative. If you don't like Clay, leave that at home. We can bash on him another day.
The godfathers of this movement began simply as fans, emailing comments back and forth years ago. When it came crisis time, their partnership took form.
But we'd never actually met until this all came about. And Steve said, look, someone's got to do something. I'm real involved with a website called SonicCentral.com, and he said, I could use your help. I can handle the political side. And we both thought we'd have a couple weeks of friendship, maybe a month.
We're just a couple of passionate sports fans, Sonic fans, that decided 2 years ago we weren't going to stand for this. And 2 years later, here we are.
Where has this effort taken you two guys as fans? I got to assume you've been to league offices, been to boardrooms, you've been to the legislature.
You do a little bit of everything. One day you're talking to an older retired person who's been a fan since the team's inception. The next day you're cheering at a rally, and the next day you're in a boardroom wearing a suit and tie. And you just try to do everything as well as you can.
Seattle is a city that has played the professional game for decades now, often with an arena or a stadium as the pawn. They should be very used to it by now, or indeed very sick of it. In the early 70s, the baseball pilots left for Milwaukee, and their replacement, the Mariners, had to be rescued, kept here by Nintendo. Along came Paul Allen to keep the Seahawks from moving to Los Angeles. And now it appears it's happening again. Lenny Wilkens has been the face of the franchise for decades, first as a player, then as a coach who led the team to their only NBA championship in 1979. But memories of a glorious past are clouded by an uncertain future.
What's your feeling about what's going on these last few months?
Well, I'm a little disappointed. I think that the Sonics have established themselves here. They've been here for 40 years, and the population grew to be sort of part of Sonic history. We won a championship here. I think they are great fans here. We're the 12th largest market in the NBA. And to think about there not being an NBA franchise here, really, it kind of saddens me.
You know, as a citizen, you've been held hostage, and your baseball team left, your football team nearly did, now your basketball team's going, or supposedly going. I mean, how tired do you get of all of this?
People here see other things that are very important. Schools, okay, highways, the economic impact on the community, jobs, those things are very important right now. And if you listen to what's happening with the politicians, that's the thing they talk about a lot. So what happens is that people stay away, they don't get involved, and then at the last minute they start to realize that maybe they should have been involved a little bit more.
Caught in the middle of this firestorm are the fans. And despite the controversy and the team's dismal play this season, there are die-hard supporters at Old Key Arena every night. Chris Yuggy Jones has been a season ticket holder for 21 years.
At what point did the Sonics become a part of you?
Oh, when I was a kid, way before the, I remember coming here when this was the old Coliseum and seeing Wilt Chamberlain and the Lakers play, with Jerry West and stuff like that. So from way back then, back then I was a kid, couldn't afford tickets. But as soon as I could afford them, I was here, and I've been a season ticket holder for about 21 years now. My whole life revolves around the Sonic season. When the season starts, my evenings, anything I have to do socially revolves around the Sonic calendar.
You had your heart broken a couple times too, right?
95, 96, or actually, 95, 96, making it to the finals against Jordan and the Bulls. But 93, losing to Denver in the first round, very tough. That was probably the worst week of my life after that.
There is a well-armed cavalry on the horizon in Seattle, eager to save the team, led by Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, who would immediately become the NBA's second wealthiest owner, should it happen. But despite the new group, despite lawsuits and judgments and an arena lease with 2 years left on it, despite the cries in the Northwest Passage, it appears this team is headed east.
They essentially gave up. Clay Bennett took over ownership in October 31st, and he had given up by April. And he didn't take time to realize the political landscape. And right now we have solutions for people who've taken that time. So it's a very critical issue for us, and that's why we need to enforce the lease, make sure that we have 2 years left to resolve this problem, and fight to the last day.
You don't get to this position in a deal like this because one person was the villain. It took a lot of failures by a lot of people to get to the point where you have this type of divorce pending. But by the same token, all it takes is one real leader to step up and say, you know what, I'm going to make something happen.
Suppose they break the lease and wind up starting the season next year in Oklahoma City. Where will you be at that point?
I won't be watching NBA basketball. If we don't have a team here, I won't be watching NBA basketball. I want to have a team here. I think the younger generation of kids deserve to be able to see what I saw growing up and have the excitement when you got a young superstar like Kevin Durant on the rise.
But despite the foreboding sense of inevitability, the founders of Save Our Sonics hold fast to an optimism spawned from a fan's mentality. There's always next year.
I think Clay Bennett and David Stern have the chance to be heroes if they turn and do the right thing and find a way to get basketball in Seattle and Oklahoma City. So we can talk all we want about villains, but instead we should focus on who can be the heroes.
Miracles happen, and they happen right at the buzzer. You don't have a miracle shot in the first quarter. You have it in the last second of a game. And so this is crunch time. This is where the miracles get done, and it's going to happen here.